Do you ever get disappointing results from your sales conversations? Do you find that prospects may engage with you up front, but then as things progress, they just start to disappear? Or how about that it's just hard to even start those sales conversations in the first place? Regardless of where you are and where you might be seeing issues, making sure that your sales conversations are absolutely maximized is totally critical. And so in this video, I'm going to show you 5 critical steps to sales conversations that close the deal. Check it out. Number 1, demonstrate quick insight up front. This is an area where I find salespeople go in one of 2 directions. One is that they're really trying to pitch or overly educate the prospect up front, and so they're just bombarding the prospect with information at the beginning of a conversation. And the challenge with that is that the prospect doesn't really know you yet, and they're like, whoa, this is way too much stuff. What we really want to do is avoid that big education up front or that big pitch in the beginning. On the other hand, there's this other group of salespeople who are starting conversations that sound something like, help me understand what's keeping you up at night, or what's your biggest challenge right now, right? And that's just as problematic because it's really weak. It's demonstrating no value at the beginning. So the prospect is thinking, why the hell would I just share with you my biggest challenge right now? I don't even know you, right? I'm not just dying to share my biggest challenges or share with you what keeps me up in the middle of the night, right? You need to demonstrate quick insight up front in order to engage your prospects in that conversation. And so what we want to do is have a quick 30 to 90 second pitch, or as we call your opening play, that's going to demonstrate some quick insight. It is a hard hitting, it is sharing some real relevant data, some real challenges that you're seeing in the marketplace to engage that prospect. So they say, oh, okay, this person seems to really know what they're talking about. I will have a conversation with them. Demonstrating that quick insight up front is key to ultimately earning that qualification conversation, or as we call it, the disqualifying conversation. Number 2, engage them. This is another area where salespeople tend to go in one of 2 directions. On the one hand, they, just like that first group that I mentioned at the beginning, right, they just go into verbal throwing up all over the prospect, and they're doing 90% of the talking. And they're not really engaging the prospect in a conversation. They're really doing tons of heavy lifting at the beginning, and they don't transition the conversation to get the prospect talking. On the other hand, the other group, which is kind of, they're trying to get that conversation going, but they never really get it. Right? What we want to do ultimately is we want to demonstrate that quick insight up front and then get the prospect talking. Get them talking about their challenges. So a good transitionary question might sound something like, based on what I just shared with you, do any of those challenges ring true to you? Right? And now we want to get them going and we want to dig in. And once we have them emotionally engaged, now they're really going to be willing to start to open up. Now, there may be times when we have to then come back with some more insight. If they start to get cagey, it really depends on the type of prospect that you're dealing with. But once you get them to open up and engage, now you've got that floodgate open, and now they're really starting to connect with the conversation that you're having. Number 3. Disqualify. This is a really critical distinction between the way we at the Sales Insights Lab think about selling and most other people think about selling. In today's world of selling, everyone's teaching you some kind of qualification technique. But the problem with qualification is that it's hoping that the outcome is that the prospect is actually qualified. We have a pretty different take where we are mostly focused on determining just whether the prospect's a fit. And by the way, if they're not, that's okay. And so we're coming with a mindset that is all about, I'm not sure if this prospect's a fit. So if they say something like, why should I do business with you? Our response is always going to be, I appreciate that question. At this point, I'm not even sure if you should do business with me. Would it be okay if I ask some questions to really understand what's going on, and then I can share with you whether I think that we really are a fit or not? That's the disqualification mindset. We are taking a step back and determining simply whether they're a fit. Now, that doesn't mean in the beginning of a cold call, if a prospect is being a little cagey or they're not totally in the mood to talk to you, that's not reason to disqualify them. I mean, you want to take them through a systematic set of questions to really determine whether their organization or they as an individual are truly qualified for your offering. And that's really the distinction, is coming in with that systematic set of questions to really determine, are they a fit? And if they are, then we'll move on to the next stage. And if they're not, then we move on and we never think about them again. That's the distinction. Number 4, use spontaneous questions. Now, you're probably thinking, wait a minute. In the last piece on disqualify, you said that you're using a systematic set of questions to determine whether you're a fit. And then in the next piece, you're saying use spontaneous questions. How do both of those work? Well, here's how it works, is that you want to follow a systematic set of questions that you're typically asking every prospect. But if you're just thinking like a robot and you're just asking question 1, question 2, question 3, question 4, you're missing so many opportunities. The key to using a selling system is that you're not thinking about what you're going to ask yet. You already know what that question is. But if you're really listening to them, they're going to be giving you all sorts of clues that can take you even deeper into what's going on. You want to think of yourself almost as a detective. The prospect says one thing and you say, oh, help me understand that, or unpack that for me, or why do you mention that? You're going deeper. That wasn't a scheduled question. It wasn't part of the system. It was a spontaneous question that allowed you to go deeper. Spontaneous questions are the difference between an average salesperson and a great salesperson. A great salesperson can ask those spontaneous questions to really get the prospect to open up. Number 5, have a two-way presentation. This is one of the biggest distinctions between average salespeople and the best salespeople. Average salespeople have presentations that are mostly just them talking the whole time. They're throwing up all their information over the prospect, even if they've gone through a thorough discovery conversation. Now it's their time, and so they're going to be doing almost all of the talking. It's a very one-way dialogue in the presentation phase. But the data shows that top-performing salespeople are actually only doing about 65% of the talking during the presentation, which means that the prospect is doing at least 35% of the talking. This is a really important distinction because great presentations are actually two-way conversations. It's not a monologue, but in fact, it's a dialogue. It's presenting a little bit of information, a key point, and then letting the prospect take that in and respond. And then in fact, at the end of the presentation, we want to keep that presentation really short so that way their questions are what ultimately drives the rest of the presentation. When you have a prospect-led presentation, now they're really engaged with what you're talking about. If you're finding that you're doing all of the talking during your presentation, you're in trouble because your prospect is likely to be super distracted. They're thinking about other things and they're obviously not engaging with what you're saying. Keep those presentations two-way. It's still a conversation even in the presentation phase of the sale. So there are 5 critical steps to sales conversations that close the deal. And if you enjoyed this video, then I have an awesome free training on the data-driven approach to closing more sales in today's crazy marketplace. Just click right here to get registered instantly. Seriously, just click right here. This is an in-depth training that will help you close more sales at higher prices, all while generating more meetings. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking my face right about here to get access to a new video just like this one each week.